Baptism. Oh, I am filled. Nothing hurt to my thoughts. Oh, phantom love. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. Here is one. It's okay to be angry, but I'm not hurting. Your happiness, yes, yes, yes. Darling, darling, no. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. Here is one. All the flowers in time bend towards the sun. I know you say there is no one for you, but here is one. But here is one.
Alright, so that is Mind Cinema with All Flowers in Time Bend Towards the Sun. That's actually a Jeff Buckley song that they covered. This is Inside Out by Spoon. This is the Daily Code Kickoff. Today, what's on the agenda for today? So today I think we're just going to continue working on Vue. No one has protested loudly that they don't want that to continue. Okoth did say that he doesn't really like JavaScript frameworks, but he didn't really run away like he said he would. So we'll just continue doing this. And by this I mean working through the Vue tutorial, which is here. Let me find that actually. So it's I'll just click here, Vue.js, and get started. So we got through the introduction, and we're now, where are we? We're like here, I think, in the Vue instance. Yeah. So, sort of on the JS side, we're dissecting what the Vue instance is. And actually, before I forget, let me say hi to the chat, and let me post a link to, I'll post a link to this and to the JSFiddle. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I've done that. This is where we got to at the end of the last session with the code. I can run this. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So just run it up here and go down to the very bottom. And I really didn't like the example they gave. They gave like a foobar, foobaz, excuse me, foobaz example, which I kind of hate. So I just did some minor modifications: food to food, bar to chocolate bar. And this is like if you change your mind. So this is a data object here, and it's right there. Our template is actually here, and so it has a button that when you click on it, it changes the food key within our data object to fish fry. So our button says change our mind. Here it's just displaying the data, the food key of our data. So I'll click on it, and it changes it to fish fry. So you're caught up to where we are. You know, the session before last, excuse me, the session before last and this and the last one kind of worked through all of this here, all these examples. So I'll jump back over to the tutorial. And I don't know if I'm going to modify this current one. Let me make this bigger, by the way. Yeah, because it was essentially this one here. This one here. So there you get to see the original version. I think I'll just move on to, yeah, okay, this is interesting. So it says, in addition to data properties, Vue instances expose a number of useful instance properties and methods. These are prefixed with the $sign to differentiate them from user-defined properties. Yeah, so let me click on this to see the full list. I don't really VM data. Watch. Instance properties. So are these like user-defined properties? So instance properties versus user-defined properties. By user, I assume they mean like the end user that would be consuming, our app or whatever we create. And instance properties, are these almost like instance variables? Let me just see if there's more info over here. Instance properties. The data object, so this, okay, here I guess, that the Vue instance is observing. The Vue instance proxies access to the properties on its data object. Props. An object representing the current props a component has received. The root DOM element that the Vue instance is managing. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a way to reference like the Vue instance properties, like the props, the methods, the data, to reference it programmatically. Like VM would be like the name of your Vue instance. Here they're using VM a lot. I used, I think, Vue model. Yeah. Let me just show you. I use Vue model there. By the way, let me try to make this bigger too. Just because they mentioned that Vue uses Vue model, so that's confusing, right? It's like Vue, you know how there's MVC? So Vue uses MVVM. So model, Vue, and then the controller is more like a Vue model. So it uses that type of architecture, and so that's why I use that Vue model to represent the Vue instance, as opposed to the VM that they're using, because that's not very descriptive. So yeah, I mean, I guess this makes sense over here on Opera, what they're saying, because it was kind of confusing, like what's the difference between that and the one without a $sign? And so I guess it's just a way to, like I said, to reference it. And then this data over here is this data object up here. Yeah, so that makes sense. Now the watch one, I haven't seen them reference it before. Watch is an instance method. And is this like a listener? Kind of looks like it, right? This callback will be called when VMA changes. Yeah, it's kind of like an event listener. Okay. So I guess they're just referring to them there. I could maybe code this. Yeah, sure, why not? So let me just copy this. I guess I'll just copy and paste just go through it quickly. So actually, let me copy and paste all this. Okay, so I'll try to modify it a little bit. So actually, because I modified these other ones here, I don't really need to change any of this here. And like, this isn't gonna print out or anything. When VMA, is there a VMA? Oh, so VMA here, okay. Okay, so it's watching this data key, data property. And so I guess we could, how could I code this? I could code like a button that changes it, and then it like prints something, right? That sounds like too much though. And here, example is like, where's example? Did I miss that? Let me go back. So they're not even showing like an example template. They're just kind of assuming it's there, I guess. Let me take a peek at like what's coming up, see if that's more interesting. Yeah. Okay, so here they're actually coding a little bit using that watch instance. What are they called again? Instance properties. This, I don't know, this is a little intimidating, right? But I guess it looks like a good diagram. So it's just showing you where you could call the lifecycle hooks. Okay. The only thing that worries me about this is that I don't think I can actually access the console on JSFiddle. Let me just try that out. So let me go back. Like, where would that print out? So let me just add it here. And yeah, so then I need to figure out how to change a. So let me create a let me copy this one here, call it example. And let's see, we have our data, we'll call this A. We'll change it to 5. And I think so it's interesting, like, okay, we could also try to print these here, like wrap these in console logs. Okay, let's go on a scavenger hunt, try to figure out where these console logs are going to be printed to. I kind of doubt they'll be printed to the main console log, but maybe. Let's see. So let me first try it without opening the browser's console log. See if by chance they get printed here somewhere. And so this is just printing out the one which is here, this one here. So remember this was here. So this is our data object. Yeah, and the reason I changed this up here was because this was confusing, right? So this is our data instance property, as we learned today. And this is the data object. And so, like, for instance here, for data for our app number 8, within our data object we have the food key or food property, and we're displaying it here, right? Food, chocolate bar. So in a similar fashion, using the data object and setting it to be the value of our data instance property, we're reaching in over here, since we can access it using the handlebar mustache handlebars. We can access our data, and so putting the A there, it displays the 1. We're accessing all of this through the example ID, and I didn't see true printout twice here, so it's not like gonna show up here, and I mean, I can click on the button, but I don't think it'll display 5. It should display 5, but it's not printing out this since we're watching A. So let me just open up the browser console. And see if it shows up there somewhere. So I'll try this one first. Okay, let me just let me clear that. I guess I could click on it. So nothing's happening there. Let me open up this one. Okay. full screen. Okay, let me do Option Command J. Okay, so this is all to go to the same place, so I think I'm gonna stop. And so I'm gonna rerun it. It's gonna be a lot of output, I think. Maybe not. So I thought there would be more. Then I'm gonna click the button. Yeah. Is it being filtered?
All the old heroes are like children to me now.
Yeah. Okay, JSFiddle. Let me close this for 1 second. And I think I'm just gonna look this up, right? So let me do that.
All the old heroes, young babies without mothers left to die on apocalyptic streets. And where are these words from? Who spoke them before, coming down like flashes of heat? I'm never frightened, for death I still welcome. Death, I have seen you before. I gave you my keys, my windows, my creeds, but soon I will give you much more. All the old heroes are like children to me now. As I come to burn your shame away, without knowing exactly how. Love is a fix, a suicide risk, blood with an unending flow. To purify lands and soak in the sands of places that will never go. Jesus, come calling, we'll be here and falling, praying for your hand to show. Catch us in mercy, drink us when thirsty, each of us falling like snow. All the old heroes are like children to me now.
Okay, let's try this one here. So, JavaScript. I'm not quite seeing that, but let me try it anyway. So. Maybe here.
All the old heroes are like children to me now.
I don't know if that works. Console.
Without knowing exactly how.
I don't know how to show it.
Goodbye, sweet time. calling on lepers and snakes. Hello, your merciful, blessed and
Select no library,
so many
Vue.js.
mistakes. Without your lover, your tired wonder, the south brain threatens to fall.
Framework and extensions.
Stars like crashing and sunlight basking,
Oh, okay.
ignoring the strongest of calls. You cannot save them without the consent. Your voice of mercy to them I have sent. You spoke through me, you a good man. Grew up to listen and give me your hand. Your voice of mercy so strong and so true. It comes out in cascades without residue. Of darkness or lies or doubt or untruth. It's pure light.
I mean, I think that's it, right? No library, Vue.js. Why is it not showing up? Let me look at it again. You can run your script by hitting that play button. Okay, so I don't think that works. This is the same, right? There's also the jQuery one, Firebug Lite. But is that for Firefox? Let me go over here. So this is showing the same. Oh, in the dev console, okay. So maybe it is working. Let's check it out.
I'm on a mission, resuming transmission. I checked out for too long, was put into submission till I wrote down it all. But the truth is I cannot be trusted with what's in my head. Assume the craft positions brace when getting out of bed. Wake up and pay my dues till I'm blue in the face. Falling in line with the rest till I'm out of the race. But I'm losing it over nothing, I'm just clearing space. You can only dance with the darkness till dawn takes its place. We're just a speck in this world, they say. Take it or leave it. So stardust, but there's still time. I needed you to hear me out and free me from
Okay, that's weird. It's showing up over here now. Okay. So it's just showing up at the very bottom here. At least we got it working. So on that note, let me save this.
It's not easy to change in a world of chaos, 'cause in layman's terms, I was the big boss. Choking down the last of my entitlement. I kissed the ring by while we're still young, but follow through and
So got that working, and printing out those true statements here. We expect those to be true. And so when we click on it, it's going to change it. And yeah, we're not using new value or old value. I guess we could say like, so let me copy this twice. Maybe a new value is Yeah, not this, but let's go with new value. Hopefully that works. Let me make this bigger. Okay, so let's try that. So this should be 1, and new value should be 5. Yeah, that worked out. Okay, so at least we showed that. Got the console log set up. That might be important down the line. So let's go back to the guide. So I guess, yeah, so we demonstrated instance properties, how to access them, outside of the, so within JS, outside of the Vue instance definition, or instantiation. I mean, we can access, we can access like the data keys outside of there, and we can access like methods, as we did like a couple days ago, or a couple of shows ago. So anyway, I guess, yeah, let's just move on to instance lifecycle hooks, which I think is probably very powerful. And seems, like I said, a little intimidating. We got about, I don't know, I started late, so I might go for another, I don't know, about 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So let's try to tackle this monster in 15 minutes. Instance lifecycle hooks. Each Vue instance goes through a series of initialization steps when it's created. For example, it needs to set up data observation, compile the template, mount the instance to the DOM, and update the DOM when data changes. Along the way, it also runs functions called lifecycle hooks, giving users the opportunity to add their own code at specific stages. And for example, the created hook can be used to run code after an instance is created. Okay, so it looks like you, first of all, you refer to it here as like an instance property, and you define it there immediately. And so there are also other hooks, which will be called at different stages of the instance's lifecycle, such as mounted, updated, and destroyed. All lifecycle hooks are called with their this context pointing to the Vue instance invoking it. So like this one here. That is what this is. The Vue instance invoking it. Yeah. Okay. Don't use arrow functions on an options property or callback such as that. Okay. Yeah, because I guess the this would maybe refer to this instead if you did that. I'm not sure. And don't use, okay, or like this. That's another version of a arrow function. Since arrow functions are bound to the parent context, This will not be the Vue instance as you'd expect, often resulting in errors such as uncount type error. Okay. So use this form instead within your lifecycle hooks. Okay, so let's take a look at this diagram. Below is a diagram for the instance lifecycle. You don't need to fully understand everything going on right now, but as you learn and build more, it will be a useful reference. So here you create the instance, you have the init, events, and lifecycle. So these are the actual lifecycle, what are they called again? They're called lifecycle hooks. And hang on one second. Yeah. Okay. So you have the before create, because I guess you haven't created the actual I don't know what, before you haven't created the instance. Anyway, I guess this is init injections and reactivity, and that's the creation. So at that point it's created. Okay, then it checks if it has an element option. If no, you can call this when mount L is called. Okay. Because I guess at this point here, it's called. And then either way, it checks if it has a template option. And if no, it compiles the element's outer HTML as template star. If yes, it compiles the template into a render function. Okay. So this is the before mount lifecycle hook, and that's before you create the element instance property and replace L with it. Okay, so you create it and you press. Okay, that's confusing, but okay. So then at that point it's mounted. And then once it's mounted, it looks like you have this cycle here. Oh, this is like all every time it re-renders, and it re-renders when data changes. So the template will re-render when data changes. And so there's the before update lifecycle hook. Then it re-renders. Then it's after it's updated or after it's re-rendered. Okay, and that's all within the mounted stage. And then finally, you have the destroy. What's this called again? Destroy instance property. And it's actually a function. So it's called, but before it's destroyed, you can call it before destroy. Then it starts to destroy it. It tears down the watchers, child components, and event listeners. Finally destroys it, and you can call the destroyed lifecycle hook. Okay, and so this little asterisk was up here, and so this was if it has a template option. If not, it compiles the element's outer HTML as a template. If yes, it compiles the template into a render function with the caveat of a template compilation is performed ahead of time if using a build step. Single file components. Okay, not sure quite what that means. So that's that. We got through that in about 7 minutes or so, 8 minutes. Hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to template syntax. What's this all about? Okay, so this is all within the actual template, which is good to know. So let's tackle a little bit of this. Yeah, I guess let me just read this. So it says Vue.js uses an HTML-based template syntax that allows you to declaratively bind the rendered DOM to the underlying Vue instance's data. All Vue.js templates are valid HTML that can be parsed by spec-compliant browsers and HTML parsers. Under the hood, Vue compiles the templates into virtual DOM render functions. Combined with the reactivity system, Vue is able to intelligently figure out the minimal number of components to re-render and apply the minimal amount of DOM manipulations when the app state changes. If you're familiar with virtual DOM concepts and prefer the raw power of JavaScript, you can also directly write render functions instead of templates with optional JSX support. So that is like this here. No, not. Or is it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We did a tiny bit of this. And I think eventually we're gonna do a lot more of that. Like, I think that's the more accepted way to, use templates. Yeah. Okay, so going back here, we're gonna get into some interpolation. So this is that thing that we haven't been able to refer to properly. The most basic form of data binding is text interpolation using the mustache syntax, double curly braces. So they don't use the word handlebars here, do they? No. So the mustache syntax. Okay. Or the mustache tag. It's even better. Cool. So now we have an easier way to say that. The mustache tag will be replaced with the value of the message property on the corresponding data object. And we've been doing a lot of that. It will also be updated whenever the data's object's message property changes. You can also perform one-time interpolations that do not update on data change by using the v-once directive. But keep in mind this will also affect any other bindings on the same node. So here's the v-once. Okay. Should I code any of this? Like, there's not like a whole lot of codable material, if that's proper to say. I guess let me just read this raw HTML, maybe try to code it and probably wrap up there for today. Okay. The double mustaches interprets the data as plain text, not HTML. In order to output real HTML, you will need to use the VHTML directive. Oh, like right here. And so it looks like you have to, okay. Oh, we can maybe code a little bit of this. So saying using mustaches, this should be red. Because it's confusing, because like what is raw HTML? The contents of the span will be replaced with the value of the raw HTML property. Interpreted as plain HTML. Data bindings are ignored. Note that you cannot use the VHTML to compose template partials because Vue is not a string-based templating engine. Instead, components are preferred as the fundamental unit for UI reuse and composition. Dynamically rendering arbitrary HTML on your website can be very dangerous because it can easily lead to XSS vulnerabilities. Only use HTML interpolation on trusted content, never on user-provided content. Don't trust your users is what they're saying. Okay, let me try to code a little bit of this and try to figure this out because this is a little confusing. So I'll just put this like, I guess should I create a whole new template? I guess so. So over here, I'll just call this, let me copy some of this. My HTML. I don't really want to call it raw HTML. Let me close this. And tab that. Let me just run this and see what errors we get, or if this even works. This is right here. Because I don't see how this works without actually like defining. See, like this here didn't work. It's not red, right? HTML. Did I miss something? This should be red. Like I don't even see these words here, right? This should be red. So maybe if I type that in, like in here. Let me try that. It's right here should be red. And we run it. So this is obviously not red. Alright, what would make it red? Like, I don't get. There's nothing here that says turn this red. Right? I think I missed something here. Okay, so I missed changing the style. Right? I didn't do that. Okay, let me go back. Okay, well, at least I got the color right. I'm so confused as to like how this actually works. So you're saying that this up here is doing nothing, right? Like this is just turning red just because, like, this has nothing to do. Like, I can take this out, right? I think. And it's still gonna be red. But I don't know. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I'm pretty done with it. And we're out of time. I'm saved by the bell. Yeah, so that was interesting. So I will. Let me add this back in. Good to see you again. There's a few outstanding charges. Just before we check you in, let's see here. You left your passport in. And I will save this. Post this in the chat. Don't leave your mattress in the rain. You sleep on the balcony. The final version for today. And yeah, so hopefully, I don't know, we got through a lot there. It was very insightful. But yeah, the raw HTML thing kind of stopped me there. You know, they kind of advise you not to use it anyway, so I think we're fine. Just skipping over it. But I want to say thanks to everyone for watching. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Mr. Tillman, for the 7th time, we have no knowledge of a film that is being shot outside. Those aren't extras in a movie, they're our clientele. No, they aren't running lines.
they aren't exactly thrilled. Would you like a regalo on the patio? Is there someone we can call? Perhaps you shouldn't drink alone. I'm feeling good, damn, I'm feeling so fine. I'm living on a cloud, loving out